Welcome to my latest episode of Weekly Insights with Joanie, and the material for this series are edited excerpts from my two acclaimed online courses, Finding True Love and Drive Through Make It Your Own. They are exclusively on udemy.com. And this episode is the 8th of the 9-part series where we're talking about the 7 myths of love and happiness. And this episode, which is the 8th one, is on the myth of shame and blame. The myth of shame and blame is the strict guardian of all the 7 myths of love and happiness. Introduced to most people through being shamed as a child, the effects of this myth are real and can be felt in adulthood. The more your self-worth is attacked and diminished by others, the more you become unconsciously conditioned to not trust your true inner authentic self. The myth of shame and blame was introduced to us as children, but what I'm going to talk about now is it didn't stop affecting us as children. It carries on into our adulthood, and without our awareness of what actually is going on in our own heads. So let's look at that more closely. The negative effects that the myth of shame and blame have in adulthood stem from helpless and hopeless experiences as a child. For example, if you were shamed and blamed into submissive silence by authoritative figures as a child, your sense of self-worth and value will be compromised as an adult. This can show up in feeling afraid to speak up and or value yourself. Another area it affects you is seeking for validation and love outside of you. Despite how real the effects of shame and blame may feel, the mythical element of it is how it creates a fear-based reality that appears unchangeable. It can be changed in ways that are much easier than you may have been led to believe. It all starts with becoming aware of how the myth of shame and blame influences your life choices as an adult. From there, it's a willingness to heal childhood and adult trauma through self-love and self-care. What's important about change and diminishing the myth of shame and blame and how it affects you in your life is catching yourself when you find yourself aware of it. I will give you an example from acting class. When I was an adult, you will have these beautiful young women in a scene where they're supposed to be angry, and they say the words, but they have a smile on their face. That's because as children, somebody in their family probably would have slammed them up against the wall if they even expressed or shown true outrage and anger. So these are the things we're going to look at, and you need to be aware of within yourself as they come up, the ahas about how this myth so affects you. The myth of shame and blame also serves as a swift and harsh defensive measure for keeping people stuck in roles that are socially acceptable. For example, a desire to do something that liberates you from the limiting nature of the status quo will likely be questioned, shamed, and blamed. This pushback doesn't just come from family and friends and authority figures. The harshest voice of all is your own inner critic. The myth of shame and blame is the instrument your inner critic and people use to keep you boxed in and playing small in life. At one point, your inner critic served to keep your inner child safe from the traumatic effects and threats of shame and blame. As an adult, many of those initial threats are no longer real, but to your inner critic, they must be made to appear real to your adult self. Otherwise, you don't need your inner critic or the limiting beliefs it uses to control you. Let's look at now some positive ways that we can disengage from our inner critic and from the effects of shame and blame. When you say you want change for the better, but fight against it, you are allowing the outdated stories used to shame you to define you. This keeps yourself locked into an inner prison. It is here the inner critic can easily control your choices for positive change. To begin the process of reclaiming your power and sense of self worth, it is first essential you know where and how shame and blame is affecting you. Next, get specific about the nature of your resistance to releasing the limiting beliefs and outdated stories of your past. From there, begin to take quiet time to remove the incessant chatter of your inner critic and begin listening to the voice of your true authentic self. Your true authentic self speaks to you from a place of love, kindness, and encouragement. Open yourself to receive the guides to enjoy the life you desire. There's another very important part to dispelling the myth of shame and blame, and that is reconnecting with your inner child who has been so affected by the myth of shame and blame. Connecting with your inner child is a direct conduit to true love and genuine happiness. It releases your authentic voice from years of being constricted through shame and blame. Connecting with your inner child also nullifies the effects of shame and blame while enhancing the unlimited power of your childhood imagination. The less resistance you have for using your imagination as an adult, the deeper the connection is with your inner child, and the more fun you will have in your life. To help integrate what you've learned today, I'd like to guide you through 3 powerful journal prompts. Create some time after this episode to journal your answers to the following questions. 1. What role has the myth of shame and blame played in you honoring and valuing your own self-worth? 2, whose voice do you hear when your inner critic is shaming you? Is it your parents, a teacher, a friend, a romantic partner, or a mix of all of them? And 3, write out a list of new ways you can support and nurture your inner desires into a new reality without the influence of shame and blame. Let's look at 10 important affirmations that you can say to yourself every day, which is going to help to solidify what we've talked about and make these glitches and these myths more aware in your consciousness so that you can do battle with them and dispel them from your life for good. When you feel the effects of shame and blame, reconnect with your true authentic voice by saying the following: I speak with love. I speak my truth without fear. I speak with authenticity and integrity. I express my emotions easily and freely. I am compassionate and kind. I am always connected to true love. My voice is clear and empowering. My voice is unshakable. My voice is expressed with confidence. My authentic voice is a conduit to my inner child. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. And the last episode is going to be 3 important steps to combat all of the 7 myths of love and happiness. And for more information on my 2 acclaimed online courses, Finding True Love and Drive Through Make It Your Own, and to sign up for them, please visit udemy.com, type my name, Joanie Marks, in the search box. And until we meet again, remember every morning, look into your mirror, smile at yourself, and say, I am my own best friend, for I came into this world to be myself. For that I came. Thank you, and all my best.